Alright, this is devlog number 2, guys, for Ronin Infinite, or whatever the fuck I'm going to call this game. But it's been a busy day, so let me show you what the game looks like at the moment. So we spawn on a starting tile. It's a randomly generated game. This is a bad dude called the Bush Doctor. And if I hit him, he's going to try and fight me. And he's really strong, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to even beat him. Shooting him's not going to work. Let's just... Okay, I got him. Now you can see the screen swaying, and that's because when he hits you with his projectile, which is some purple juice, it makes it look like you're drunk. So now, can I shoot myself? I can't. I want to show you the glitch effects when you're low on health. You, come and fight me. My door just swung open, hold up. It's very windy here at the moment. Now if I hit this fire, you can see my screen's glitching at the moment. That's because I'm on low health, but I do have an inventory system, so if I... Oops, that's not the one I want. If I heal, boom, we good. Now these two, that dude on the ground is fighting the guy in the sky, because I've set up the AI to be a bit more complicated than just attacking the player, and there are different relationships that you can have between different classes of AI, so I'll explain that in a second. But let me just show you what we got going here. That's basically the game. So you start in a random tile, which just happened to be over there, and this next floor spawns somewhere randomly throughout the map. And if I go through that, is it going to take me to the next one? Okay, so far so good. Yeah, and it's a different map, okay? Same starting tile, it's exactly the same tiles at the moment because I haven't built any more tiles, but I've set it up to use a seed, so if I exit now and I go back in, it's updated my save game to floor 2, so I start back in here on the exact same map that I just finished off at. And if you see in the very top left corner of the screen, it says blah 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 2 test level 69. The 2 is just because it's on floor 2, test level is just the name of the map, and 69 is the seed that we're using. So I've set it up so that as you play through, you start with a beginning seed, and then each level that you play will be the same level if you started with the same seed, and I can go back at any time because it's saved, and I can... Oh, I started at my camera position then, I think. But you can go back and you can play through the same levels. So, what do I have to show you? That's basically the game. It has a toon shader, I think I've said about 3 times, but I fucking I love it because it looks really cool. Let me show you my level generation settings really quick. So I added a heap of different parameters. Random level. Oh, I'm like freezing cold. It's fucking cold today. I need to wear more clothes. I added a heap of different parameters for different things that I can do to the random level generation. So at the moment I've got different level themes, and they've all got a different probability. So each time you go to the next level, there's a chance that it'll get the tiles to generate that level from a different theme to the previous level. So I might have like a fire themed one, a desert themed one, a cave themed one, I don't know. Could have all different kinds of shit. And they've all got different probabilities. So you might, if you play through from level 0 through to level 10, you might get 10 different level themes, or you might get 3 different level themes, and you'll come back to different themes and they'll have different enemies and things like that. I've got items spawning on the map. I can change the number just here. I've got a list of items just there as well, and I have a setting which I'm working on to have different items unlock at different floor levels. So as you get to level 10, you might have different items as you might have in level 1. Enemy classes, so we got a whole list of enemies that are spawning. I've got a little tab here to define which floors the particular enemies start to spawn at. So maybe I've got a hard enemy that only spawns at level 10 or something like that, so can set that up all in here. The number of enemies to spawn per map at the start is 5, so that'll be 5 enemies on floor 1, and then as you get to floor 2, I've got a little number here, so what that'll do is it'll take the number 2 to the power of 1.2 and then add that to the 5. So as you go through more and more levels, the number of enemies gets exponentially greater. just so that it eventually gets to a point where it's impossible to beat, and then you just have to die and then start again. Although I might put an endpoint in it at some point. So that's all my random level generator stuff. I've pimped that out a little bit. I built an enemy difficulty scaling thing, which I might show you, which is kind of cool. ERI level component. So basically what happens is when an enemy is spawned, this function is called on the enemy, which takes in a value called increments, which is just whichever floor we're up to. If I'm up to floor 10, then this value is 10. And then what that does is it increments the max health of that enemy by the value of the floor. So say that's 10 multiplied by some value, which might be an extra 10 health. So it takes their max health and then buffs it. So each time you get to a new level, it gives them more health, makes them faster by changing their walk speed. Oops, you can go back to what you were. Change their projectile speed, their projectile damage, etc. So I thought that was a pretty nifty little idea. We can just have the enemies leveling up as you go through the game, so it gets harder and faster and stuff like that. I've got music in now. Let me show you my what's it called? Ecosystem table or something. So each of my enemies, I have a bunch of different parameters for all of my enemies, and these are some new ones that I built down the bottom here. We have Lucy and Frank. So basically I can set all my parameters for all my enemies just in this table. So obviously like some things I'm going to be doing inside the editor, but there's a lot of stuff in here that I want to be able to change really quickly, like their health. If I want to change the health of enemies, I can do that in here. So I've got max health, the healing percent per second, so they heal 5% of their health per second. Loot classes, because I've got an inventory system, I can quickly just define which classes of enemy are going to drop what in here. So classes, the probability of dropping that class, and the number of times to run that probability. I had all these timers for automatic death times and for producing little AI babies and things like that, but I'm not going to worry about that in this game. They can periodically produce different classes of items, so maybe some enemies drop some item that's helpful to you, so you might want to not kill them, because if you don't kill them, then you've got the chance to pick up the items that they're dropping, so you could farm them or something like that essentially. They can start with items as well, so they could start with, they've got their own inventory system, and they can start with health buffs or things like that, and the AI in the behavior trees can actually automatically use those health buffs if they're low on health. So I'll show you a behavior tree of one of my AIs. Roaming, finding food, searching for, this is the reproducing section, which I'm not going to use because it just got a little bit too complicated. Heal, using items. So do you have a health item? Don't use any more than one of these per 10 seconds, otherwise they'll just be too hard to beat because they'll just keep healing. Is our health lower than 75%? If it is, then use the health elixir, and then it'll lock itself out of this tree for 10 seconds, and then it'll go back and have the chance to use another one of those if it wants. And if you kill an enemy that has items in its inventory, they drop the inventory items on the ground, which you might have seen in the video at the start, but I'm not sure. What else have we got in my ecosystem settings? Inventory size, movement speed, projectile damage, other damage. Do I want them to auto aggro enemies? Do I want them... just a heap of different settings. And it's cool to just play around with this shit and just to see like what works and how it feels to play, and change the difficulty and things like that. Now, I'm like shaking because I'm that cold. Holy fuck. There's one more thing I wanted to show you. My relationship component. So I just have a, it's basically empty, but I have a little family list in here, and I'll show you my AI controller real quick. What happens in my AI controller, whenever an AI perceives a new enemy, or not an enemy, sorry, whenever it perceives an item, an actor of the same class as itself, or an actor with a relationship component, then it keeps track of these actors. Now with the relationship actors, the ones with the relationship component, it does a bunch of checks, blah blah blah. Don't worry about any of that. The important thing, what I'm getting at with this, and the bit that I wanted to show you, is that I've given tags to a few of my AI. So let me show you. This is Lucy, Laser Lucy, who shoots lasers from her eyeball. She's been around since I started developing games. I think like the very third day or something, I was in Unreal Engine. I just grabbed a cube and stuck this texture to it, and she was the main enemy right from day one, and she's stuck with me, baby, all the way until now. My loyal AI. So in here I have a relationship component, and over here I've got a family list. So you can see she's got a face block tag, but there's also these hell ones, RRM, which is running robot man. I don't even know. I'm just going to add a bunch of different shit in there for different types of AI. And basically what the relationship component does with those tags is when they perceive different actors with relationship components, it checks to see if the one that it's perceived has the same family as itself, and if it does, then it won't attack it. But if it doesn't have the same family tag, then it'll attack other AI. If I've set it to auto aggro, which is a setting inside of my ecosystem table down the bottom, AIC auto aggro question mark. If that's set to true, this AI will automatically attack every other AI that doesn't have the same family tags. So the idea and what I want to do with this game is have a randomly generated map with all of these different AI, essentially tribes with their own family, that are, yes, looking for the player to defeat the player, but they're also assaulting each other. And they're all producing different items, and maybe they'll be, doing other things that AI are interested in, like building different structures and civilizations and destroying each other's civilizations. And yeah, look, I don't know. I just find it really cool when you're running through a game and you just see the AI interacting with each other the same way that they'd interact with you. Like you watch them having these fucking turf wars, and you're just like sitting back just watching, and maybe you could bait different AI to fight other AI for you, so you don't have to get involved inside the mess. There's heaps of different ways that you could use this, like, because they collect items as well, so you could literally bait them into an enemy camp by just dropping items in front of them from your inventory and leave a trail of them. Or you could bring them back to your little base that you might have built and get them to protect your base somehow. Put them inside a fence and get them to protect by shooting over the fence. I don't know. But that's where we're at so far. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to show you. I might have something in my game mode, because I did quite a bit of work in my game mode today. I think I pimped my entity gen thing out a little bit. Yeah, no, there's nothing to really show there. But basically what's happening in my game mode is the player logs in. Oh, this is my random seed thing. So when you begin a game, a new save game, these are the settings that are going to be set at the start from a menu or something. The game floor is just going to be 1, because you always start at floor 1. There's a data table row name, which is going to be getting the level generation settings. So that's in this data table over here. At the moment, I've only got 1, which is my test level settings, which has all the items, all the enemies, all the different tile names, the size of the tiles, how many tiles, etc. Everything's contained in that, but I can just click add and add a whole different set of settings if I wanted them, or the player could even add their own settings from the menu if they wanted to. They could have their own custom random level generation. Back to my game mode. So that's all set up at the begin play, and the seed. Okay, so we get a seed at the beginning, and then what happens is you load into level 1, floor 1, and the map's generated from that particular seed. Okay, now when you get to the next floor, the next floor is run on the same map, so I want to regenerate it from the same seed. But if I just use the same seed, it just gives me the exact same map. So what I've done is I've just had it take the seed, add the floor that we're on, and then that's going to be the new stream to generate that map from. So if I give my mate the seed that I started my game with, he's going to get the exact same sequence of levels as me, which is cool. So I think that's basically it. I added music in. I'll put a link to some of the music that I've made recently in the description, because I think music's an important part of games, and I've put quite a bit of effort into the music that I've made recently for games, so check that out if you're interested. But what else to say? If you want to learn random level generation, I've got random level generation tutorials on my channel, so check that out, because I think random level generation is one of the coolest things that you can do in games, because you get to play through your own games and be surprised by the shit that it comes up with, and you never know what you're going to get. It depends on how well you design it. If you design the algorithm really well, and you've got all different systems interacting to produce this level, you get these really bizarre situations that you might not have even seen as a developer, because you just play through and the systems have interacted in a way that you didn't even foresee, and like your AI are interacting with each other and doing things, and it feels like your game really comes to life, and you get to play through your own game and be surprised by your own world that you've created, rather than just playing through something that you've played through the same way linearly for 1,000 times. I think that's the appeal in random level generation, is it's different for you every time that you play. So that's where I'm at with this, and I'll be back with the new development log soon. Peace out. And if you want to learn AI, have a look at my AI Made Easy series as well. It's a very in-depth series, free on YouTube, where you'll get to learn how to use behavior trees and AI controllers and shit like that, because I'm mentioning this because the AI in this game is going to be very hectic, and as you might have already seen, I've got some flying AI and shit like that in the game as well. Very easy to set up. AI is all very easy to set up, and it's really good again for creating situations where you're not really sure like what your AI is going to do, because you've designed it with all its different behaviors and its priorities and things, and you're playing with it, and it surprises you with the way that it acts, and it's just fun because it's interactive and you're not sure what you're going to get when you design a good AI. So if you want to learn AI, check out the AI Made Easy series, and I'm going to leave this one there, guys. I will see you again with a new video soon.